One, two, three. My arm is itching.
Oh man, because since I have a hat on, it's gonna be hard to see my eyeballs. All right, check. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the podcast. Why is my face look all weird? What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Win-Win Podcast, where we upload a new episode every single Wednesday. If you're new here, my name is Tommy Wynn.
And I'm Sophie Wynn.
And we're a married couple who moved out here to Silicon Valley right after college. And we didn't know anyone before moving out here. We didn't have any family. Since then, move fast forward to today. We've started a business together and we found a community that we just absolutely love.
And that's exactly why we created It's a Win-Win Podcast, for you guys to feel connected in this time, because we know what it feels like to not have community. And so this is a space where you can just relax, you can chill, hang out with us every single Wednesday and just connect and have fun. We share our stories, our life with you guys, and I'm excited for today's topic.
Oh, yeah. Today's topic is an interesting one.
Yeah.
And also, side note, if you're watching on YouTube, you may notice the setup's a little different today. Really, we're recording right now in the evening.
Yeah, first time.
So it's a different type of vibe, and we're excited to kick it off tonight.
Yeah, and I want to also just ask you guys, how are you all doing? I want to start doing this because it's been so fun having conversations with you guys online and offline, and just giving us feedback about It's a Win-Win Podcast. So thank you for your honest thoughts and feedback. It's super helpful. Let us know if you're watching on YouTube in the comment section below how you guys are doing. I thought it could be fun to just share some wins of the week or the day or whatever, just something to kick off the podcast with something really positive, because I think it's important to recognize the small wins in your life and in your day to make this time that we're living in more enjoyable, truthfully.
Yeah, and for the wins, you have to be intentional about finding those wins, right? It's so easy to say, "Man, this day was a drag. This day wasn't that great. It was okay." And really, we have to find those wins. We have to be intentional about seeing the good in each day, even if your day went bad, it didn't go the way that you thought it was gonna go. I think you can always find, some good in that day.
Yep, I agree. I'll kick it off. One of my wins this week was actually from today. And Tommy and I went on a very social distanced walk.
At least 6 feet, right?
I think so. Our friend, can we say who it is? Should we say who it is?
We can keep him anonymous.
Okay.
He or she.
Well, it's a he now. But he's one of our friends. He was my first friend here in San Jose, I would say. And you guys, I don't know if you know this story, but I, moved to San Jose with Tommy. But Tommy had a not 9 to 5. He actually worked more than 9 to 5, but he was in construction. So he had his work. He was busy. He was gone a lot. And I was starting Soul Gold Marketing, our business. And so I was by myself a lot. That's what I mean when I feel for the people who don't have community right now, because I have fully lived it. And until I met this one person, he is awesome. He really helped plug us into Eden, to everything. We have so much gratitude towards him. And so we love him, and I'm going to send him this podcast because he's going to know I'm talking about him. But one of our wins this week was we got to go on a walk with him, and it was an hour. And I know I don't like to say he's really busy, because I feel like busy is a choice, but he has a lot going on. And it means so much when someone like that can make time for us. I really appreciate that. And so we got to catch up, and I haven't seen him since the pandemic.
Yeah.
March.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would say that was a win for me as well, just to be able to get out and just reconnect with a friend, a friend that has created so much impact for us. And, a lot of where we're at today was because of, the seed that he's planted, introduced us to this community that we're a part of now. And like I said, when I talk about the community that we just absolutely love, that's that community that we were introduced to. And it's just been an amazing journey. And it all started with one person, like single-handedly, created that first step for us to really get involved with in our community today.
Yeah. And so wanted to share that too, not only to remind myself of the wins, because some days I don't have good days, but when I think about those moments and then the wins of the week, it really keeps me going and it pushes me and it reminds me that life is different now. It's not amazing every single day because I don't think that's realistic. But yeah, so that was my win. What was yours?
So my win was this past weekend. It was surfing. I had a great surf session. It's been a long time since I felt like I had a really good one. Every time I go out and go surfing, I really do enjoy my time out there, and it's always really fun. But this past session just felt really good. I've been training during the week because I'm used to like working out with weights, but now I've really tailored my training to surfing, like hip mobility, flexibility, and just doing like more like surfing movements, like popping up on your board, things of that nature, where it's not as much as like strength work, but now it's like flexibility and movement. So that's been really helpful and it's paid off. So it felt good when I caught, when I was catching those waves. I'm like, man, I feel really solid now. So that was a pretty big win for me this past weekend.
I love that. It's a small things, small little, not, it's like, what's it called? Consistency. Like you were consistent every single day and then you went out to the waves and it paid off. And so, yeah, comment below, you guys. What was your win?
Exactly. Comment down below. Either, from this week or maybe something that you're looking forward to this weekend as well. Maybe, you can't find a win that happened today or yesterday or last week, but maybe what are you looking forward to? So comment a win or something that you think is going to be a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We want to know. We're just checking in on you guys. How are you doing? So for the topic of today, we are going to talk about a topic that I'm going to say, in my opinion, a lot of people don't like to talk about. I think.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay. And it can be an uncomfortable conversation. Remember last time we talked about love languages, right? And how some people don't talk about their feelings, talk about love, how they want to be loved. I think part of that can be uncomfortable for some people. Like I talked about the Asian culture, it's not like everyone's like, oh, I just want to touch all day and have hugs and stuff, right? It's like, it's just
Not a lot, and not a lot of like public affection, things like that.
So we're speaking based on our experience, our life. So the second thing that can be uncomfortable is money.
Yep, finances.
Yep. And our friend Rachel, I met Rachel a couple weeks ago through the Eden community, and it was so much fun meeting her in person because you see people online, like you see them messaging, like, and talking, in the chats or whatever during service, but like you don't actually get to meet them. And when I did, it was so fun. I like hit it off right away. And she's been listening to It's a Win-Win podcast. So shout out to you, Rachel. Thank you for watching and listening. I think she's watching on YouTube. And she was like, hey, can you talk about budgeting and financing and finances? And I was like, that's a really great idea because it's not something that we used to never talk about this. And
yeah, I would say finances is a very touchy subject for anybody.
Yeah.
Even like for couples.
Yeah, because it's like, how much money do you make? And like, what are you going to pay? There's just so many things that can be uncomfortable in those conversations. And it's like, who's a breadwinner? Is that even a thing? So Tommy and I have been together for 8 years.
Yep. So we're gonna dive a little deep here. So we did the love thing and now we're gonna do the money thing.
Yeah, we're gonna just share with you guys because not mistakes, but I just want to share things that I think could have been avoided, prevented, and for you guys to just have less problems, I guess, or just kind of talk through things sooner rather than later. If you guys are dating, if you're single, if you're married.
Yeah. So you were saying we've been together for 8 years, including dating. From dating all the way to marriage has been a total of 8 years. And for those of you who don't know, we've known each other since
Middle school.
2007, 8, around there. I don't know. I think 12 to 13 years we've known of each other.
Yeah.
And out of those 12, 13 years, we've been together for 8 years.
In February, it's going to be 8.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
That's crazy.
Yeah. See, that's another win. Look back and like think about, how far you've come.
What Sophie said.
So with that being said, we started dating and we were in college at that time. And, when you're in college, I don't know if it's like this for everybody, but you don't really have a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, you might, but for most of us, we're broke college students.
Yeah, that's like a thing, right? Broke college kid.
That's a real thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I was on I had a scholarship it was like a need-based scholarship and academic, kind of like 2 in 1. And so I mean, obviously I didn't come from, I wasn't rolling in the dough going into Purdue. And so, yeah, money was interesting because I didn't really have much. And then I got my first job at Purdue, which some of you guys might know. I worked for Purdue Marketing and Media doing their social media marketing. And so it's kind of how all this all started. But I got paid like I felt like it was awesome money
For Midwest money.
for Midwest intern.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to take the job for free because I wanted it so bad. But when my boss, Martin, was like, Sophie, we want to pay you, I was like, what? So I started making some money. And I was like, I wanted to be generous. Like I just spoiled my nieces and like bought stuff for my family. And I felt like for the first time I had money on my own. So you want to share your situation going?
Yeah. So in college, I pretty much had a job, I think almost the entire time I was in college. And it was just, various different jobs. I don't remember my first one, but I remember I worked as like in the kitchen for a sorority. So I worked with a chef. I was kind of like on the line helping prep food, and I had no cooking experience, but it was cool because we got free food every night.
And I got to eat it too.
Yeah, and I would take some home because we would take the leftovers home.
Yeah.
And Sophie would get to eat it, and it was great because it was like a free meal, and I got paid, so which was amazing.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win, yeah. And then I had another job like as a media editor, editing like this content, like this video for a professor who was putting together like this online summer school course. And this was before like schools went virtual. This is what,
regular time,
2013, 14. So I think he was ahead of the curve. At that time, he already knew.
I mean,
maybe.
Purdue has awesome online school, but anyway.
Yeah. So just various jobs throughout college, just making enough money, not making a ton of money, just making some money to be able to like go out to the bars or buy Sophie drinks, whatever it may be.
That's true. I never ever paid for anything going out.
Yeah. I would say, actually not true, but a lot of girls probably don't have to pay for their drinks.
Yeah, probably.
But
not.
no, that's totally untrue. I'm being, whatever.
I don't know. Yeah, whatever. Don't take that too seriously.
Yeah. Serious, not serious.
Yeah, not serious. But I think so. We both had jobs, and I never really. I don't know. I didn't really tell Tommy how much I got paid. I didn't really say how much I worked. We just kind of like did our own thing and never really talked about. Like I still to this day don't even know how much he made working at the sorority or the media job.
I honestly don't know either. It was just money. Like, I don't know. It just wasn't a ton of money, and it was just enough to help me
It was just
buy
fun.
extra stuff. Because, at that time, we lived in the dorms. So we had dining courts.
Yeah, you don't have to buy food really.
Was free. So all this money we're making was like extra money.
Yeah. And so for me, I was saving my money. I kind of basically bought whatever I wanted because my expenses were so low. I literally did not have bills. My family was still paying for my phone bill, all that back in the day, the good times when I didn't have bills. But yeah, so when we were dating, we didn't talk about money. And when we go on dates, we would basically split everything, or, occasionally I would pay or occasionally Tommy would pay. He wasn't really like the type of boyfriend that was like, I'm going to pay for everything for you all the time. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. I think it's good to not, put yourself in that position, to set the expectation where the guy always has to pay. I just don't think that's...
We live in 2021, guys. Come on now.
Yeah, I personally would not want him to even pay for all my stuff all the time because, I don't know, it's like I'm making money too. Like, I don't want him to... It's not like we are adults. Well, I guess we were adults, but, working adults. We didn't have a lot of money, so I wouldn't feel right anyway with him paying for everything. So that was really our dating life.
I think it was pretty seamless in terms of, like when we went out on dates, we just talked about, hey, do you want to pay or should I pay or just want to split it? And it wasn't really that big of a deal, dating throughout college. We just we figured it out.
Yep.
It's like, hey, I have some extra money I can pay, not a big deal. Or she'd be like, hey, I just got paid, for my job. I can take this one. So
yeah, and everything in Indiana is so cheap. So I feel like if I pay, he pays, it's like $20 at Applebee's. It's not like California prices where it's, it's a little more. So yeah, that was kind of college. So yeah, never talked about money. And then we moved to California. Also, I forgot to mention real quick.
So so after college, we both moved to California.
Oh, by the way, hold on. I want to say one last thing.
Oh, what do you want to say?
We did not live together in college. And so rent was never a thing. Tommy always had his own place. I always had my own
That's
place.
right.
Yeah. So
So we paid our own rent,
that
basically.
sets up as we move.
Yep. So fast forward to college graduation. I think I moved like 2 months after graduating. It's like I just got out. Not that I wanted to, because my job kind of actually called me to go out there sooner than I anticipated. And so we moved out and we lived together actually in an apartment, our first apartment. And I just remember being just mind blown at the prices of like renting an apartment, which is a mortgage back in Indiana.
First of all, that's a studio for like
Our first place
$1,700
was a studio.
month.
Yeah, we had a Murphy bed, which was really cool.
Yeah, it came through the wall. I was like, what is this life?
It was cool. I liked it.
No, it was nice, but it was just the dinkiest, tiny.
Hey,
Tiny.
we made it work.
Hey, humble beginnings. I think it's important to start that way so you can only go up from there.
Yep.
That's the goal, is to keep going up. But yeah, so we moved together. That was the first place ever living together for the first time. We were pretty serious in our relationship.
Yeah. So I thought that was like kind of the next commitment with us moving out there together.
Yep.
That's a big commitment. Leaving our families, back in Indiana. And that's when I got my first like big boy job, right? My first like big job.
Yep.
And at that time, and then, from there, I'm like, wow, I'm making like real money now, like all this money now. And it's like,
It's not a couple $100 a month.
yeah. And, Sophie moves out and she's applying for these jobs. If you guys want to know more of that story, it's an earlier podcast. So make sure to go check that out. I think it's episode like 2 or 3. Around there, just earlier ones, like maybe the first 5.
Yep.
But anyways, so Sophie was applying to all these jobs, and then I pretty much told her, I'm like, hey, why don't you start your own business? And for those of you who run their own business, who have started a business from ground up, from scratch, know how hard that can be, and startup costs, and just being able to invest your money, but also like have money to just
Survive.
live. So I guess the questions that we could answer, like maybe the listeners right now may want to know, is like, how did we figure out the finances in terms of like, did we split stuff, groceries, like what did that all look like?
Yeah, so that's exactly what we wanted to dive into. I think this is what Rachel might have been talking about a little bit when she asked us to do a podcast on this. So basically, I was making very, very little money. I mean, a lot of money in Indiana, but not a lot at all California wise. Like I could not survive on my own, basically. But we were on this like common playing field where Tommy's like, okay, I have this job that pays me really well, that can definitely support the both of us without ever having to worry. And you can just kind of get the business started. And I worked my butt off.
Oh yeah, she did.
I mean, hustled like day to night, no days off, which I don't recommend because that's not really sustainable. But I had to do what I had to do. I was like, I don't know a single person here. I need to make money. It was crazy.
Yeah.
The hustle was real.
You wake up, you're thinking about how I'm gonna make money. You go to sleep, like how I'm gonna make this money.
Yeah. So I hustled super, super hard. But when you start a business, you're not making money right off the gate, and it takes some people years to even be to make money. And so it was difficult. Basically, I was Venmoing or Zelling. I don't know what I was doing at the time. It was probably Chase QuickPay at the time, not even Zelle.
Yeah.
I was Venmoing him my rent for my office in our dinky studio, which is probably like a couple $100, if that. I don't remember at all. But, we would measure out the square footage, and then I would basically pay him rent, and he would cover the rest. And so we were still this whole Venmo thing.
Yeah, so Sophie was still paying, rent in a sense, right, for the home office space. And I think at least the first year or so, or maybe the first 6 months when she first moved out here, she was still paying for stuff. I think we were still splitting groceries, things like that. Just like
everything.
Those type of expenses, even gas, we were splitting.
Everything.
Because, we were dating at the time, and again, we never really talked about finances. We didn't talk about how much I made, how much she made. And it just didn't come up very often. It was very similar to college. We just kind of figured it out. It's like, hey, we'll split this and this. And we just kind of went from there.
And I thought it was kind of his own business of how much money he made. And I know some couples that are dating might know how much their person makes, but I don't know. I just felt like he never went out of his way to tell me he's like, hey, I made X amount of money this month or this week. It was just never in conversation. So I just kind of never asked. I've always wondered how much money he
Yep.
had in his bank account. And I'm like, I wonder.
I just said, don't worry about it.
Yeah. So that was kind of how it was when we moved out to California. It was still very much like Venmoing. We never ever combined finances like ever.
Mm-mm.
And we did for budgeting, we did cash envelopes. If you guys are familiar with Dave Ramsey,
Yeah. Can I introduce how we got into
go
that?
ahead.
So I got into Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey, right? Yeah.
I
Dave
know we always
Ramsey.
get Gordon and Dave Ramsey mixed up.
Yeah. If you guys know Gordon Ramsay,
You are the
you
best.
guys are awesome.
Because we love
Anyways,
Gordon Ramsay.
Mr. Dave Ramsey, the financial peace, financial wellness piece, financial peaceful. I get this mixed up.
Financial Peace University.
Yes, that one. So, I moved out here and then I got my career job, what I went to school for, very blessed to be able to start out my career, with that job. And I started making all this money. And I'm like, man, this is a lot of money. Like, I don't know what to do with it. I didn't I didn't learn how to manage my finances, financial literacy.
Right.
So working a lot, I was always on the computer. I'm like, hey, I'll listen to some podcasts. I'll try to find some finance podcasts to listen to figure out like financial literacy, like how to manage your personal finances. And I stumbled upon Dave Ramsey, started to listen to his radio show that he has. And I think he had like 2 or 3 like 2-hour shows for each per episode. And people would go in and scream, I'm debt free. And listening to him, he really started the foundation of like how to manage my personal finances. And I use him as a base to do that. Of course, I don't follow everything that he says and does, but I think it's a great starting point.
Yeah.
So if you're just graduating college, or maybe you're in that season in your life where you're just financially independent, because at this point we're both financially independent from our parents, 100%. And
I've
Sophie's
forever.
been that like since in college.
And I was debt free.
Yeah, and I
Very
mean
blessed
that was
to have that.
very helpful too. Graduating, we were both no debt. We didn't have any college loans, so that was extremely helpful. Set us up for success, coming out of college.
And it's okay if you're not debt free, just FYI.
Yeah.
Dave
I
Ramsey
mean-
does walk you through on how to get debt free.
Exactly. I mean, even if you are in debt with college loans, he walks you through all of that, and I think it's just so insightful. Some of the things that he has, like all these steps, they call them baby steps.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend checking him out.
But basically, we would do cash envelopes. That's something that he talks about. And I would go to, so we both have the same bank, and then we would withdraw the same amount of money, right? We would
Yeah,
figure
I
out
remember that. We would go to the ATM
Yeah.
and we would pull
across the street
like
from the grocery store.
tons of cash, put them into the envelopes.
And I would label them grocery. We would have like an envelope for grocery, for restaurant, for gas. I think that might have been it. Can't exactly remember.
I think entertainment maybe.
Oh yeah, like if we wanted to go Dave and Buster's, go on a date, whatever, movies. And so we did a whole cash envelope, and basically once the envelope was empty, you shouldn't spend more than that. And man, we were cheap back then. Like I feel like we did not splurge at all because we're still living like college.
Yeah, it was definitely college mindset.
College
still.
mindset where in college you just like eat free food wherever you get it. Like if it's food, which is, I mean, still to this day, we're still the same way. Like food, you got to eat. It's a necessity. So yeah, we were super low maintenance, I would say, in that sense. And we didn't really shop that much. I didn't have money to even buy stuff for myself. I was just trying to work to get Soul Gold off the ground.
Yeah.
So Tommy was really, I would say, the one making the most money at that time, where we were dating, but I don't know, I just really admired how he just didn't want to take care of everything financially, even though he could, because I think it was a good skill for me to learn right after graduating college, and just to not rely on him, even though I did for the rent because I couldn't cover the whole studio rent. But I don't know, I still felt independent, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I think, once we moved out here, that was something I had in the back of my mind. And of course, I took care of the bigger items, like the cost of living, just the stuff that we need to live, so we don't have to stress about that.
Yeah.
But with the other things, I'm like, hey, if you have your money, you can buy it if you want it, whatever it was. And the big reason for that is because let's say we ended up not working out and she's out here. Like I wanted her to understand like that she like, so then she wouldn't just be left like hanging basically, like starting from ground zero. She would already have something to kind of build off of. Like she would understand like, okay, like I have to figure this out. I'm already paying this. I'm already like, so it wouldn't make her like go out of her rhythm like too much, where she's basically prepared already.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I mean, at Purdue, I paid for my rent all from working and, you know, scholarships and stuff like that. So I never ever had to, I don't know. I still didn't rely on anyone. I guess if the scholarship went away, I'd be screwed. But,
Yeah.
you know, I wanted to keep that rhythm where I didn't, even though I knew Tommy was making significantly more money than he's ever done in his life, I still wanted to be independent. So
Yeah.
that was one
And
of the,
I think it's a smart thing to do. You know, girl or guy, like boyfriend or girlfriend, is for you guys to be, you know, independent of each other when it comes to those things, because
you just
you
never
guys are,
know what's going to happen.
yeah, exactly. You cannot predict something that may come up, something that may happen that causes you guys
Yep.
to split.
Yeah. And so that's basically all up until we got engaged, right?
I mean, I would say
Oh, no.
as the years went on,
That's not right.
so how long have we lived here? Coming on 5, 6 years almost, 5 years.
Let me see.
I would say like the first probably year or two, right? And then, you know, of course, as you work with in your job, for those of you who, you know, work a 9 to 5 type job, your pay increases each year, or if you do really well, you get promoted quicker, you know, things like that, right? It's just your income increases.
Yeah.
So I started taking care of more things, and you know, after a while, I did want to take care of her and just make sure she didn't have to stress about anything, because she was starting a business all around that time. Like for the first like 3 years, it was a lot of hustle and grind.
A lot of work.
I mean, it's still a lot of hustle and grind right now.
So much work.
Yeah. So I didn't want her to stress out about just like the necessities, the like
Basics of
like
living.
just the basics of living, where she can really focus on, you know, building the business.
Because ultimately the goal was for Tommy to come on and work with me.
Yeah.
And so I think we had such a clear, laser focused vision of where we wanted to go. And so financially, we were like, we don't need this. We don't need this. Well, at least for me, because I couldn't really afford like a lavish lifestyle or anything like that, you know? And so I was super laser focused on where I wanted to go. I'm like, work really hard to get enough clients to support Tommy and I both, so that he can quit his job once the project is done and his work is done there, and he can come full time with me. And we got to that point, which was so crazy to me.
Yeah, it's been a blessing for sure. And I think, you know, even all the way up, so bank accounts separate all the way up until we got married.
Yeah, like
Even
we were
after we got engaged, how long we were engaged for? Not very long.
We were engaged.
For like a month and a half.
Is that right?
Yeah.
No, because we got
February.
and then we got
It was
February,
like
March,
it was
April,
like
May.
oh, like 3 months, like a few months.
Yeah.
Because people usually get engaged for like a year, right?
Oh no, I wasn't about to do that.
So we kept our bank accounts separate all the way up until we got married. Even like when we got engaged, our bank accounts were still separate. And I mean, we weren't really engaged for that long, just for like 2 to 3 months. You know, I know typically people get engaged and they stay engaged for like 12 months. But for us, it was a very quick turnaround,
Yeah, I was like,
I guess
no,
you would say.
I don't want any stress of that stuff.
Yep. And I know there are people who are married out there who still have separate bank accounts, but you guys are married. And, you know, it's up to your guys' personal preference.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your money, with your bank, your finances. Like, I have no,
Yeah.
you know, authority there. But
I will say though, we did get this whole money thing, conversation stuff talking through pre-marriage counseling, which we talked about in last week's podcast. And in that podcast, Daniel and Kayla were talking about finances with us, because it's kind of like a part of the book that you go through.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, okay, so we're going to combine money. And I remember, you guys, I had no idea how much Tommy was making. I had no idea what was in his bank account. It could have been like 500. It could have been 30,000. I legit had no idea. And my friends would joke with me. One specifically, he would be like, what if Tommy is like he's low-key this prince, like supposed to be a prince in Vietnam, and he's like this trust fund baby, and he's just super wealthy. That's why he's never told you about his money. And I was like, that would be cool. But I knew Tommy would be like,
I mean, that would be cool, but that's not true.
yeah. And I was like, I don't know. We'll see when we get married how much money Tommy has, and if he's legit like this trust fund baby.
Get that prenup ready.
I know. So
JK, guys. JK.
that did not happen.
No.
But anyway, go ahead. You can go back to what you're saying about it's okay if people don't have bank accounts or whatever.
Oh, yeah. For us, like Sophie said, premarital counseling actually really helped us a lot in terms of just communicating about finances. I think that's so important. Like, I understand communication just between, your loved one and your spouse is extremely important, but like what you communicate about is just equally as important. And finances is one of them. And for us, taking premarital counseling, that actually opened up a lot of things, or it brought up a lot of things that we never thought about, right? Even just like buying power. It's like, okay, if we buy a car, who has the higher buying power to make that decision? Who will be that decision maker? And we went through categories like that. Like, for example, cars. We decided together that it would be me.
Yes.
If we were to buy a car,
100%.
I would be the decision maker on that. I would have more weight on what car we buy, and
because he's a car person.
and then for other things it would be Sophie. Maybe that is like, I don't know,
I forgot
couch,
exactly what it was.
coffee tables, like house stuff,
That's
right?
more
Stuff
me.
that I don't really care too much about.
Yeah.
And so she would have like the ultimate decision on those type of things. So that brought up a lot of things that we never really thought about. So I thought that was really cool, going through the premarital counseling.
Yep. And so now that we're married, we have our bank accounts combined. It's funny because one of our friends who's like in accounting, I think he's in accounting, asked us this question. He was like in our car one day. He's like, I'm gonna ask you guys a personal question.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about.
He was like,
Yeah.
do you guys combine your finances? I was like, is that, to me, it was not weird. I mean,
It is a personal.
I guess it is a personal question.
It is a personal question, but like for us, it was like it's not that big of a deal to answer that particular question.
I just think
it was very interesting, right?
Yeah, maybe
That-
if we didn't go through pre-marriage counseling, I think maybe that would have been weird. But to me, I don't know. I mean, we're doing It's a Win-Win podcast, so obviously we're fine sharing as much as we want, and we can control how much we share. But yeah, he asked us that. So I think this is something that people do ask and people have questions about. And yes, we do combine our finances. It does make it more difficult during birthday times because...
Yeah. I mean, I think we just have to tell each other not to look at the bank statements or look at like receipts or, whatever that pops up. Hopefully the emails, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, your order has shipped. It's like, wait, you ordered this?
Yep.
Wait, why would you buy? Oh, it's for me. And then you ruin your own surprise. But
Yep. But I've gone roundabout ways on how to get all that.
But I think, we communicated. So combining our accounts into a single account, I think that's really important to show like just transparency, especially with our communication. Like Sophie, I tell her everything and anything. She's like the single person that I can communicate 100% to. And I think it's vice versa. Like she will tell me 100% everything that she feels she needs to tell me. So we're very transparent.
Yeah,
And
it's hard
it goes with the same with finances, right? We don't have any secret bank account off to the side that's like,
Yeah, we tell each other everything, what investments we have going on,
Oh yeah.
how much we're going to spend. One of my friends had a great tip. They said if anything's over, I think 100 or 60 bucks, I forgot what they said,
Oh yeah.
that they would tell their spouse, but if it's under that, they just buy it. So
Yeah.
like so one thing that's been so helpful, you guys, single, married, whoever you are, everyone can use this app. So Dave Ramsey has an app called Every Dollar,
Yep.
similar to like Minted. Some people use that. And Every Dollar, I mean, it took me years to ever want to budget, you guys. I dreaded it. Even the envelope stuff, I was just over it. I was just like, Tommy, you figure out if groceries are 50 bucks a week, 100 bucks a week, just tell me what it is and I'll stick to it. I dreaded budgeting. Not going to lie, I still don't love it. But
you're better now.
yeah, so we budget, I would say basically to the penny, pretty close, I would say.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing. It's been so freeing for me because I remember talking to my business coach and I was like, why do I feel like I have no money and I work so hard? And the solution was budgeting.
Well, the reason why is because she didn't understand, how much was coming in and then how much was coming out. So it's really important to know, like, and that's what budgeting does. And sometimes budgeting has a negative connotation that's attached with it. It's totally fine, it's whatever. Sometimes Someone told me I talked to someone and they call it a spending plan, which I'm like, that sounds a lot better. A
Yeah,
spending
let's
plan.
call that a spending plan.
Yeah, instead of like a budget, right? It's your the plan that you have to spend whatever you're spending things on, for that month.
Yep.
And it's like, this is how much I have. And sometimes people feel like, oh, I'm restricted. I want a budget and I can't buy what I want. But
That's what I
actually,
thought
it's
too.
actually a lot more freeing. Yeah, I would say the general consensus is that it feels like it's restrictive.
Well, I just felt like, oh, Tommy, you're so cheap. Like, why do we have to budget? Can't I just
Mm-hmm.
buy, Starbucks once a week? Like, what's the big deal? But now the spending plan, I'm gonna call it that from now on. The spending plan has been awesome. Where I'm like, actually, I could go to Chick-fil-A today for dinner. I can go to In-N-Out. I could do, whatever and not worry so much. I can buy my friends gifts because I know their birthday's coming up next month. And so I budget and plan to put a little more in our generosity budget. So like in the app, you'll see like income received, like gas, transportation, your giving. So we like plan out our giving every single month, and we know we're going to give this much and then we're going to give this much to people. So like if I know my best friend's birthday's coming up, I'm going to splurge a little bit on her, and like I don't have to worry and restrict myself. It's actually so freeing. Like if I see a $50, I don't know, little gift bag package thing for her, I'm like, ooh, I can afford that because I actually budgeted 75 for her.
Yeah, because when you plan that, when you allocate that amount to spend on a certain category, then you can spend up to this much. And most of the time, we don't spend all of it.
No.
And if we do, that's all right, because you can always allocate from other funds or from the other stuff you planned for.
Yeah.
So we do that a lot. Like, okay, I think we're going to spend a little bit more in this category this month, and we're not going to spend as much in this category. So let's allocate some of those funds into this allocation. So then it's like, okay, it's all fine, and we know we're going to have the money to do it. We're not going to just spend a bunch of money and not track how much we're spending and not know if we're going to have enough money to pay the bills at the end of the month.
Yeah, that's stressful. And just because you have money in your like checking account doesn't always mean that you can afford something, right? So you guys, no matter who you are, I think Every Dollar is an amazing app. I mean, there's so many out there, so you pick what works for you. But for us, it has been awesome. So I think that's one of our number one budgeting spending plan
Yeah.
tips. And I think that it's so freeing. And we hope that if you guys try it out, let us know what you think. I believe it's free, and then there are like paid options. And so just try it out and see what you think. And we really hope that this podcast, you guys learned something, you felt inspired by something. Don't let money be an uncomfortable conversation. I think it's a necessary conversation.
Oh yeah.
With your family, if that makes sense, like your parents and
What would you say is your big, like,
spouse.
kind of your big tip to give someone who's listening or watching right now? Maybe they're dating, so they have a boyfriend or girlfriend, or maybe they're married right now, or what would your advice or your tip based on your experiences that you would give them when it comes to finances?
Honestly, I think you have to do what works for you. Just because it works for me and Tommy does not mean that it's gonna work for you. I mean, you have to do it. I have people in my own life that have separate bank accounts and they're married, and I personally think it's up to them. I am not judging anyone on what they want to do. So you figure out what works for you and stick with it.
Oh yeah, I love that answer. That's a great answer, because each couple or each person, we all have a different situation. So it's going to be different for every single person. There's no one size fits all, and that's totally understandable. And we just wanted to share how we went through everything, from dating for 8 years, all dating all the way up to engagement, all the way up to marriage, to where we're at today. We just wanted to share that with you guys.
Yep. And so make sure you guys let us know any other things you want us to talk about, because we
Yes.
want to make content that you want to watch and listen to.
All right. So if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you want to continue watching our videos and get all the latest uploads right when they come out. Make sure to hit the like button and hit that notification bell for sure, so you'll be the first one notified when we do upload a new video. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you are, you're amazing. And give us a rating. When we see those ratings come in, whether they're 4 stars, 5 stars, 2 stars, it's so really encouraging to see that people are engaging, and it gives us more clarity in what type of content that we should come out with. And, we just love to see you guys engage with us. And, it's all about connecting. So thank you for listening or watching to It's a Win-Win Podcast, where we upload an episode every single Wednesday. My name is Tommy Win.
And I'm Sophie Win.
And we'll see you next Wednesday.
Bye.
Peace.